All right, so this is going to be a video that it goes over the transfer window in Kart Fantasy Sports. The transfer window is a brand new proprietary game mechanic that we invented. The way that it works, in the simplest terms, it essentially acts as a weekly auction draft on players on other people's teams. And it works in a process. We call it a transfer window because it's fantasy sports. Sometimes people are busy. So it creates a negotiating period for a specific player, any player that you've made a successful bid on. The basic mechanics of it are every player in the league will have a number attached to salary. So that salary is set on the draft value of the player. So if you've ever done an auction draft before in fantasy football, you start with a certain amount of money. Everybody bids on those players, and the highest bid wins the player, and they draft that guy on their team. What we do is we just keep the information from that auction draft, and we attach that salary. That stays with the player for the rest of the season. And then any money you have left over from the draft, so we do a $300 draft, and if you have extra money at the end of the draft, you can keep that in your war chest here, which is just money that you have to spend. So it's money not attached to a player. The ways you add money to your war chest, you sell one of your players to another team. If you drop a player, you get 80% of their salary. And then there's ways to collect money off of waivers, but I'll cover that in another video. So, how do you make a bid? First off, what is a legal bid? What is a qualifying offer? I like to call it a qualifying offer because it sounds fancy. Qualifying offer is any offer that is less than the total money that you have in your war chest. So I have $80 in my war chest. I could make 10 bids at $80 across the league, and there's a logic system to figure out which bid actually. Basically, whoever accepts the deal first gets the 80, and then the other deals disappear. They go away. So yeah, it's any offer equal to or less than the total amount of money you have in your war chest, and higher than the other player's salary. So you can see down here, I have George Kittle, $70 salary. I bid $100 on him. But, let's say we have Ramondre Stevenson here, or let's go, Travis Kelce, $100. So I couldn't make a bid on Travis Kelce. So let's see somebody that I might be able to make a bid on. Jared Goff. Yeah. So Jared Goff, $30 salary. I could bid $31 on Jared Goff, and that would be a qualifying offer, But let's just do it at 50 for now, and I'll kind of explain that in a second. But all you do, you find the player in this drop down here. It auto-populates the owner, auto-populates their salary. You enter your bid number, you press place bid, and then boom, it just gets added to your outgoing bids here. If you go over to transfer window, you can see all the bids that have been made there. So every week, every team will be able to see all the bids that are made on every other player, and you'll be able to see players that you've placed a bid on, and I think, let's see, yep. And if somebody's made a bet on your player, it'll automatically show up there. It's very simple. So how does the negotiating period work? So you make your bids up until Wednesday, and then after the bidding period closes, you enter into the transfer window part, which is the negotiating period. And the way that works is that there are 3 possible resolutions to any negotiation. So with these 2 players here that have bids on, there's 3 possible resolutions. Number 1, you sell the player for the bid amount. So here we have George Kittle, $70 salary. I bid $100. If you accept the deal, I would pay $100 to the George Kittle owner. I get George Kittle, and that owner now has $100 to spend on next week's transfer window. Option number 2 is to match the bid. So right here, MMM paid $70 for George Kittle. I bid $100. MMM would have to pay $30 to George Kittle. His salary would go from $70 up to $100. That $30 would come out of MMM's war chest, but he gets to keep the player. So that is resolution number 2. Resolution number 3 is that these 2 owners work out a deal for that specific player. So let's say I offer $100 for George Kittle, and MMM does not want to cover that. He doesn't want to cover the $30 to match. But he sees on my team, which I forget what my team is. Who's my tight end? I have Mark Andrews as my tight end. Maybe he goes, oh, Kittle's having a better season than Mark Andrews, so why don't we do George Kittle for Mark Andrews plus $20? So instead of the full 100, he gets Mark Andrews and $20. If that's the case, the player gets traded over at the original $70 salary, and the trade goes through, and the negotiating period, it's done. That's a possible resolution. So there's 3 possible resolutions: sell the player, match the player, trade the player. Again, you can either sell the player, you can match the player, or you can trade the player. It's very straightforward. It's pretty simple. All right. So that, in essence, is how the transfer window works. The only other thing is that this year we are going to do a thing where you are going to be taxed $3 per successful bid, like I said before. So if whatever the resolution is of this deal, I still owe $3 into the community chest. So if I spend all my money on a bid and I still owe $3 in tax, I got to find a way to make $3. I either have to cut a player or like cut a deal with somebody else. But yeah, it seems complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. Most of the transfer window deals last year resulted in just a negotiation. I think the way people primarily use it is a way of kind of expressing, I have interest in another player on your team. You make a bid on them. You say, hey, I think this guy's worth this much money. And they go, all right, well, if you think he's worth that much, is he worth more money? Is he worth less money? You know, you can always do, if you are, if you're the George Kittle owner, you see the $100 bid. Let's say I had more money or something like that. You can be like, listen, $100, I'm going to match that offer, but $120, I'm going to sell them or something like that. But I guess one last thing is order of operations. As soon as you make a bid on a player, once the bidding process ends and the negotiating period starts, the guy who owns the player can decide to sell the player or match the player and just end the negotiation right there. They don't have to like actually call and renegotiate anything. They can just be like, all right, I'm matching the offer, or all right, I'm selling the player. And then that automatically triggers that player, that deal goes through, money goes through, etc. So like I said, it's one of those things that might seem a little bit more complicated, but it makes a ton of logical sense once you start doing it, and it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, hopefully this video will help you understand if you've never played before, or even if you played last year and you just need a reminder of how it works. Hopefully this video will help you understand our transfer window. And yeah, always feel free to reach out and I'll answer any questions. All right, thank you.